Everyone says end grain is the gold standard, but can you actually buy a good end grain cutting board on Amazon without spending hundreds of dollars? Today, we're going to find out. Oaktastic sent me 2 of their oak end grain cutting boards for review, a 12-inch round board and a 16 by 12-inch rectangular board. Both at the time of this review sell for well under $100 USD. I'm going to unbox them, test them, cut on them with 3 different kitchen knives and see whether they're genuinely worth buying. And yes, there's a reason I'm using 3 knives. Stick around until the end. Before we jump in, if you enjoy knife reviews, cutting board reviews, and all things kitchen gear, consider subscribing. Now, let's get into it. Oaktastic is a US-based company selling cutting boards through Amazon. Links are in the description below. As the name suggests, these boards are made from oak. More specifically, end grain oak. End grain boards are generally considered easier on knife edges than edge grain boards, but wood species still matters, and we'll get into that shortly. Oaktastic currently offers several rectangular sizes and 1 round option. For this review, they sent over the 12-inch round board and the 16 by 12-inch rectangular board. I was especially curious about the round board because honestly, I've never been much of a round cutting board guy. Let's see if that changes. Overall, the unboxing experience gets a solid 7.5 out of 10 from me. Packaging looked clean, branding was nice, instructions were included, but there were a few things I'd improve. First, the maintenance instructions are a little too broad. I understand they're written for the general public, we need to assume they have no knowledge of cutting boards, but there's one thing I strongly disagree with. You do not need to wash your cutting board with warm, soapy water after every use. If you're cutting raw meat, absolutely. If you're cutting something heavily aromatic or staining, absolutely. But for many day-to-day tasks, simply clearing the board is often enough. My biggest criticism though, the boards arrived dry. After a heavy overnight conditioning, they looked fantastic. But I think customers should be able to pull these out of the box and start using them immediately. That would make a much stronger first impression. Let's talk about oak. The Janka hardness scale measures how hard a wood is. Simplistically, the higher the number, the harder the wood. Oak sits above American walnut, but below bamboo. So, in theory, it should resist knife marks better than walnut, while being less aggressive than bamboo. That's important because harder surfaces can be tougher on knife edges, especially very thin Japanese knives. The good news, these boards are end grain. That helps significantly. Now, let's put them to work. What exactly am I testing? 3 things. First, sound. You can learn a surprising amount from how a cutting board sounds. Extremely hard surfaces tend to produce a sharper, harsher impact. Second, moisture retention. I wanted to see how the boards behaved after conditioning and repeated use. And third, edge friendliness. Would my knives dull unusually quickly? Would they chip? Would anything raise red flags? To test that, I used 3 different knives. A full carbon steel knife, a stainless steel knife, and one that sits somewhere in the middle with a semi-stainless knife. And yes, there's a reason for that. Apparently, oak tannins have a reputation for causing carbon steel to darken quickly, so I wanted to see for myself by using 3 knives of various carbon contents. One thing I noticed immediately, these boards are gorgeous. The grain pattern looks fantastic. Food looks great on them. Knives look great on them. For food photography alone, these boards are seriously attractive. And that's where the round board surprised me, because I ended up loving it more than I expected. Honestly, I might be a little in love with it. It's perfect for smaller prep tasks. It's perfect for serving. It's perfect for tableside presentation. Imagine slicing a steak right in front of guests or cutting citrus tableside, watching me pour lime juice over the spine of the knife in this cool fashion. It's just a cool experience. If you're trying to prep multiple ingredients at once, space becomes limited pretty quickly. But for focus tasks, it's fantastic. The rectangular board performed well too. My only observation is that it feels more like a medium-sized board than a large board. Personally, I'd love to see an even bigger option added to the lineup. When I'm cooking, I like keeping ingredients on the board while I continue to prep work. For that, more real estate is always welcome. One feature I absolutely loved was the finger grooves underneath. I moved these boards around constantly during testing, and those grooves made it feel effortless. It's actually one of my favorite design elements. I also appreciate that there are no juice grooves. I've never been a fan. They reduce usable surface area, food gets trapped in them, and the properly rested steak shouldn't be flooding your board with juice anyway. The rubber feet also deserve a mention. No rocking, no wobbling, the board sat flat throughout testing. Exactly what I want to see. Now, for the question everyone cares about. How did they perform? Better than I expected. Oak definitely isn't the softest wood available. You can hear that. But it also doesn't sound nearly as harsh as bamboo, glass, stone, or steel. Throughout testing, I experienced no chipping, no unusual dulling, and no obvious concerns. That said, if your collection consists entirely of ultra-thin Japanese knives, I'm not sure I'd rush to replace your existing board with oak. I think maple, walnut, and cherry remain safer recommendations for that specific audience. My nitpicks are pretty simple. Number 1, give me a logo somewhere, anywhere, on the side, on the bottom. Just let me know it's an Oaktastic board. Number 2, the surface finish. Could be slightly smoother, not enough to be a problem, just something I noticed. And number 3, condition these boards before packaging. I really think customers should open the box and immediately fall in love. A properly conditioned board helps create that experience. So, are budget end grain cutting boards worth buying? In this case, I think the answer is yes. For under $100 USD, these boards offer solid construction, good looks, multiple size options, excellent stability, and overall good performance. Would they replace my absolute favorite cutting boards? No, but that's not really the point. These are for people who want a beautiful end grain board without spending a fortune. And for that audience, I think Oaktastic has done a pretty good job. I'll continue using both boards over the coming months, and if anything changes, I'll update the video description and post about it. Oaktastic, thanks for sending these over, and as always, I'll catch you guys in the next one.